All right.
Okay, let me see. It says starting recording. Okay, there we go.
Yeah, it
There we
says
go.
here. Yeah.
All right. All right. Oh man, D Poet. It's nice to see you again, man. How you been?
I'm all right, man. Just being here, trying to live.
All right, that's good,
Uh,
man. That's good. How things in Canada?
Things are good. We're still in lockdown for another week or so. So, but people are trying to get freed. So they're going to the beach. Anyways, go to parks. But we still out here,
Okay,
We're
I see. And
doing the free Canada T-shirt.
yeah. Hey man, hey, I need you to get me one of them Toronto not a Toronto Raptors. I mean, Toronto Blue Jay hoodies, man.
Jays, Jays.
I need
Okay.
one of them, like ASAP. I mean, I'm
You
talking,
like?
I'm talking about the hockey looking one, the one
Oh,
that looks like oh, have a hockey.
you mean the Maple Leafs then? That's the Maple Leafs one.
Oh, that's the Toronto Maple. Then what
Yeah.
did I
So
say? I said the Toronto Blue Jays.
Blue Jays is a baseball team.
Yeah, that's what. I don't know. Yeah, I was thinking about I was thinking about the Maple Leaves.
Yeah, they lost to the Maple Leafs. Yeah,
That's what I wanted to say. I got them mixed up.
yeah, the
All right.
Maple Leafs. They're
Yeah,
both blue.
man. Yeah. All right. But y'all, welcome to another episode of Ras Tien. It's your boy, it's your friend Ras Tien, and I got our guest. This is D Poet. You remember he was on here last time. I called him the Wandering Poet. You know, since the brother has been traveling everywhere and he writes his own poems. Um, now, we've all been hearing about the stuff that's been going on in Israel lately, right? For the past couple of weeks. Can you tell me what you know about that?
Oh, I'm aware of it in terms of the the guy now it's just Gaza Strip, aka Palestine, right? So that we have to go back all the way to 1945, when the UN created Israel as a state, and the tension's been going on ever since. We've had several attacks or conflicts throughout the decades where the Palestinians retaliate because they feel that the Israelis are taking lands that are there. Israelis saying they have a right to exist and they defend themselves, but the Israelis are supported by America, so they have a little bit more leeway and they have military defense. So you run into that. The latest issue seems to be that they it said that the Israelis said the Palestinians attacked first, but they just fire rockets, and the Israelis said they're defending themselves, but Israeli has more muscles and they do more damage. So I think that the whole outcry online is basically the Palestinians are people who are supporting Palestine saying Israelis are power overreach in the sense that they're more powerful, they have they have more military power, and they're basically using unnecessary force in terms of retaliation to the people there, and so that's what's going on. And it's not something that's new. It's attention's been going on for a couple of generations, but we could specifically date back to 1945 after the Second World War, where the UN created a new state, um, mainly through U.S. intervention to create a new state called Israel at the time, which is where you come into Zionism. So I'm quite in depth on it. I know it's a nuanced conversation because it's more it's not necessarily black and white. It's a nuanced conversation could be had, and people try to thread the line because you don't want to be called anti-Semitic if you don't support Israel, but you also have to recognize that there's an overreach in terms of the force they're using against people who lost their land and been displaced. So you're dealing with a very dynamic, but they're also attacking, but you're also saying the difference in terms of what their attacks are doing compared to what Israel is able to accomplish in their retaliation or our attacks.
All right, I see. So then, I've noticed that as for America, we always back up Israel, and I think it's because of we're supposed to be a quote unquote Christian nation, and we feel as though we're supposed to back up Israel because it's supposed to be. This is not my opinion, but like this is not how I feel. But I'm just saying, like, I think that's the reason why we back them up.
Well, it'd be interesting because in the Bible, it was the Jews that crucified Christ, right? So it should technically not allies.
Yeah, that's what, and that's what I'm saying. It's like, well, how can we always back them up? That when they don't even believe that they don't even believe in Christ. They crucified him.
Yeah, it was I think it's more geopolitical more so than the actual religion because there's a whole bunch of things and translations and the old Hebrew, Jesus being Joshua or the letter J being new to the English language. So I think it's more geopolitical positioning of powers and how America has stationed places they've gone as satellites as ways to have influence in other places. I think it's more along those lines more so than anything to do with religion. That's just a caveat that's added on to for those who want to think something other than that. I think in terms of global power, America being a superpower it is, they need allies in certain places and need influence in certain places, and Israel gives them that. Even though it was an artificially created place to, I don't know if it's push an agenda, but it was artificially created for a certain purpose at a time. It was um, it was in a sense what do we call it? Um, what's the word I'm looking for? Um, it was a way to pay back the Jewish people for their suffering during the Second World War. Because whether or not you know it, that whole eugenics program that Hitler instituted was started in America. Eugenics practices in the U.S. and they learned the lessons from there. So I think America was also trying to wash their conscience, and they were the strongest power in the UN, and that was kind of pushed through it. The whole 1945 when they formed the UN and formed we call it Form Israel deals with that.
Yeah, I think the eugenics program that was in America that was supposed to be used for black people, right?
It wasn't only for it was immigrants. It was anyone who was deemed undesirable. It wasn't only for black people were filled under that. But if you were sick, you were crippled. If you were someone who was an immigrant to the country, and even if you had like a little limp, you were eugenics. It was basically to breed out anyone who wasn't the best version of people. So they had that in U.S., Canada, and England. Churchill was a eugenicist. Woodrow Wilson, all those guys. So that was the the policy at the time. They didn't really like immigrants that much. They used to sterilize the people crossing the border from Mexico during the early 40s, 30s. So that's where the Germans got that idea. They studied that.
Oh, okay. I see.
Reparation. That's what it was. Israel was created as reparation for the Jewish people. That's
Oh,
where.
okay. That's why. But wait a minute. Now I thought it was in 1941 that the British handed handed the Arab Palestinians their own state, and then they handed the Jewish Israelis their own state after the Ottoman Empire fell.
No, because remember, Israel doesn't come in existence until after 1945. It comes into place after the Second World War. So the Ottoman Empire would be mostly Turkey, right? I don't know. Ottoman Empire didn't run that far because Israel and slash Palestine is just a stone throw away from Egypt, which is Africa. Ottoman Empire, I don't believe went that far south. I might be wrong. Don't quote me that I would have to double check on that.
Mhm.
I don't believe the British occupy that area because you have right beside it you have you have Arabia, you have Saudi Arabia right there.
Mhm.
So I don't think the British control that area, but I would have to double check. I'm not 100% certain on that right now, but I do know that it was created after the Second World War, 1945. Um, well, the UN was created. I think in 1946 is when Israel was given over in terms of land. It was small. Then over the years, the people who were Palestinians would fight back, and they were backed. And Israel has been backed by the U.S. and the UN and the Western powers. So Israel has been acting as a Western state in the east, right? And they're viewed as essentially as an invading force, because that's essentially how they were created. There was an annex. This is the land, we're taking it, and we're going to assign it to someone else. And for generations, the people who've been there first, I've always felt some type of way about that going on there. Now, the people who Israeli also claim through biblical sources that this is also their land. They state a claim for the land. And that's where we run into problems, because you have two groups of people feel that is their God-given right to be in a location, and you can't tell them no different.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So you run into that thing, because Jerusalem is a important place of three religions: Christianity, Judaism, and Islam. So you're all three Abrahamic religions. So you have geopolitical, you have religious rights, and this ideal of whose rights are more, whose rights is more important, because essentially that's what you're running into, because the Western powers are always going to back Israel, and over the generations, the Gaza, which is the Palestine, has gotten smaller and smaller and smaller. So clearly, there's a position that's been taken by the Western countries who they deem is the deserving power to be there. And you have people who are Muslim or people Palestinians who are going to push back because they feel that Israel has unfair support and are given preferential treatment by the people who are supposed to keep the peace.
Okay. And do you think this might result in another world war?
No, not this. This conflict's been going on for years. Not this specifically. There's nothing going on there that's different or severe enough to trigger anything globally, because it's not a new conflict. It's not anything that's threatening to anyone other than the people who live in there. And Israel is winning that battle. It's not something that's going to throw off anything. So no, I don't see this triggering any world war. I see it just being a continuation of an already existing conflict. It might deplete more of the Palestinian state that currently exists, and that's where the UN will have to intervene in terms of you have to sanction Israel to not over push the power, which is what they've been doing for the last 60, 45, 70 plus years.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. I see. And what is are you on anyone's side? Like you on the Israeli side, or are you on the Palestinian side?
No, well, I guess it's cliche. I'm the side for humanity, but that's cliche. But in a sense, I don't have a side on it. It's a conflict that's been going on for a while. I believe both sides have areas where they're wrong and areas where they deem themselves right. As a person who as a Palestinian person, I can see, not me, as a Palestinian person, I can see why they would feel a certain way. You've had this land for generations. You've lived there, your family, and then suddenly someone came to take your land and said these people belong here, and slowly over generations you're losing land, right? I can see how they would feel in terms of that, and also they feel because they're like it's like a little kid trying to punch a big muscular guy. You're hitting them, but you're not really hurting them, and then they're gonna come back and just slap you in the head. And that's essentially how the fight is. It's like a big these guy find a little kid who's punching back because they feel like you're being unfair and you're getting slapped upside the head. I can see it in Israel. The defense for Israel is that they have a right to defend themselves, which is true if they're a nation, they have the ability to defend themselves. But I think what's also been happening is that there is an unfairness in terms of how the global community looks at Israel versus Palestine in terms of the superpowers like America, England, and so forth. They allow Israel to have overreach, where they're able to take over land that was agreed upon to be Palestinian, right? It
Right.
takes slowly and surely. So there's that. So me personally, no, I don't have. It's like I said, it's a nuanced conversation because there's many things going on in Israel in terms of how it's viewed, because um, the people who there's a difference between Zionism and Judaism. A Zionist is someone who's in search of Zion, trying to find this perfect place, where Zion is supposed to be, and that's where they're trying to form in that area we now know is Israel / Palestine, or that peninsula area right there. But no, I'm not. I think are both sides are wrong in terms of it, but believe both sides have a right to exist. Is based on the nationhood.
I see. And okay, well that's all the questions I have about the whole Israel
I'm sorry,
thing.
why? A question for you. What
What's
is your opinion on it? Has this topic affected you in any way in terms of like the pre-Palestine kind of thing? What's your feel on it?
I mean, to me, yeah, like I was more of like what bothered me was just I'm trying to be careful because I don't want to be demonetized or anything. So the thing is that for me, even though I'm not really that big of a fan of Arabs or the juice people, um, I'm more in favor of like, giving back to to that which belongs to someone else. So like how you said, if someone comes and takes something that they take something from you that you've had for a long time, you were born here, you were raised here, you had your kids here, your ancestors were always here, and then they say, well, they come set up shop and say you don't belong here. This is our stuff. That is just basically bullying, and no one likes a bully.
So my question would be like, so a country like America, which was building a foundation of taking something from someone else, you think they're able to see any fault in what Israel is doing when the foundation is of taking someone else's innocent?
Well, I mean, yeah, no one. Look, America's not innocent by any means, but it don't make it right
Mm,
to do it. It don't make no right. Like you don't got to follow in their footsteps. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, because
Because
most
let's look at it. Let's look
like
at what the Europeans and now even the Chinese are doing in Africa. There, look, you got the white man there and you got the China man there. Now they both taking over taking over Africa, and basically ain't nothing the Africans can do about it, right? Now this is not to I don't totally put the blame on them. I also put the blame on the colonizers as well, because when they go and set up shop, they're not going to treat the people well. They're not going to try to assimilate with the people, but they expect the same thing when they go to their country. This is China, I mean.
mm,
So I kind of feel the same way about what's going on with the colonization in Africa and even the Philippines, you know.
mm,
And I
yeah,
also have to blame the leaders as well as some of the people too.
yeah, it's one of those things where if you understand how the superpowers destabilize countries. There's a book called on the economic hitmen where they literally send people to destabilize or start coups. So it's not necessarily always the leader. It's it's more nuanced. Like I said, it's hard to say there's a good and bad side when all everyone's hands is dirty. That's what I'm trying to say. Like when you get into geopolitics and how these governments operate and how superpowers maintain powers, there's a lot of underhanded things. There's a lot of subversion. There's a lot of destabilization, especially in Africa. Whenever a country was doing well, they would have an economic hitman. They go there, cause uprisings, get military coup. That's essentially what happened to Patrice Lumumba in the Congo, right? It was a destabilization cause a coup. Then Belgium ended up killing them. So it's more so a lot of these things is not as clear cut as we want them to be. So that's why I can't pick a side because I know both sides' hands are dirty. Just it's so how does everyone has a turn at being the what do you call it? I want to use derogatory, but everyone has a turn being in the bottom where you are the one taking the punishment. And sometimes when
Right.
you're at the bottom, and it's one of those things. But it's a messy, especially global politics is messy. There's a lot of dirt going on.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I hate it a lot of times when I talk with my African friends, and when we talk about the condition of Africa, the first people they blame is the leaders. And when
Mm.
I see how welcoming the people are to these Chinese and the Europeans, it's like, well, can I blame them for when y'all practically bending over for the foot to go in your ass? I mean,
Yeah, like what Desmond Tutu said. Like when the white man came, we had they had the books and this we had the spears, and then on the left we had I forgot the so essentially they came and brought us the books and they left. They had the land and we all we had was the book. We had the land and the spears. They came, they gave us the books, and they took our land and they took everything else. All we were left with was their book, which is the Bible.
Who was the
That's
dude? Go ahead.
sorry. Who was the
No,
dude doing what?
who was the dude that quoted when we had I'm paraphrasing, when we had our eyes open, we were kings. When we closed our eyes, we had shackles and chains on us. Sound
No,
familiar?
no, it's the first time I heard that. It sounds like a parable similar to the missionaries. I'm not familiar with that one.
Yeah. I heard that years ago, and I remember when I was in the Nation of Islam, I heard that. But
Oh, you were a part of NOI?
well, I was, all right, guys, that's all we got for today. We gonna come back at y'all with a part two with a different topic. This is my man, D Money. I don't know why I call him D
Be
Money.
nice.
D Bo. I was about to call him D Nice. All right, y'all. You know what to do. Like, share, and subscribe. Leave a comment down below. And love, peace, and coconut grease. I'll holla.